Well, good morning, everyone. Thomas Montgomery with IIMFL and Smart Money Alliance. We get together most weekday mornings at this time with our distribution partners. We get together live right around 8 o'clock Central, Mondays through Fridays, and we typically record these and make these available via YouTube for those of you that can't join us live. We've recently been discussing the importance of increasing financial literacy. And in fact, that's part of our mission statement. Let's look at the top of our website here. We're a 501c3 nonprofit committed to narrowing the racial wealth gap by teaching financial literacy and other things. But financial literacy is going to be our topic today. Now that our nation is starting to open up more for in-person meetings, we're going to have a very focused effort in working with hosts to set up financial literacy workshops. Now, we've defined on recent trainings that to us, a host is an entity, an organization, or even an individual that typically brings two things to the table. They provide the space, especially if we're going to have face-to-face in-person training. So they're going to provide the space, the venue. And secondly, they have the sphere of influence of people to invite. So going down to the local office building and renting a room does not qualify as a host, right? Because you're missing the most important part, an entity, an organization, or an individual that has a sphere of influence over a group of people that can be invited. We're going to talk more about the financial literacy topics here as I scan down the page. Keep in mind that when we're conducting financial literacy with hosts, it can either be set up as a fundraiser or not a fundraiser. So when it's set up as a fundraiser, then the attendees will pay and that revenue is shared with the host. And that is popular and common and warranted, really, because some would argue that if people don't pay for the attendance, then they're less likely to show up. They'll register, but they don't show up. And people sometimes don't value what's free. But separate from that, then there's the non-fundraising aspect, like we do often at libraries, where you'd never charge at a library. It's prohibited. So clarifying, we teach in person and online people of all ages how to manage money through an award-winning curriculum. Typically, our instructors have a really strong background. Most of our in-person instructors either work for the SBA, were SCORE mentors, or were college professors. Most have graduate degrees. We do require that they have at least 10 years of relevant experience, and we do a criminal and credit background check on our in-person instructors. We have three different categories of financial literacy topics: for youth, for adults, and for small businesses. What we're going to focus today is primarily on the small business aspect. As I've alluded to recently, we normally like to start our capstone, our flagship presentation is called 27 Mistakes. And it's a hyperlink right here, so you or anyone else can click on it and actually see the YouTube version. So that way any prospective host would know, well, this is what's going to be talked about. They can actually see the presentation before we come out and actually give it at their location or conduct it via webinar for their sphere of influence. So what we've done now is we have a really simple process. So if you're interested in being what we call a financial literacy coordinator, there's no cost to be one. You don't have to buy anything. There's no strings attached. What you're going to do is to reach out to prospective hosts. There's been lots of questions. Well, what do I do then? What's the process? What's the timeline? Well, that's exactly what we're going to cover over the next few minutes. You're going to help them fill out this financial literacy workshop request. Again, where is it? So we're on the IIMFL website. We went over to financial literacy and we scroll down. Here it is. So what is the information that we need to know about a prospective host? Well, we need to know the person's name, what organization or entity they're associated with. Is it a church? Is it a chamber of commerce? What have you? What is their title or role within that? So this isn't your information, unless you're going to be the host. This is the prospective host's name, organization, and title. We also need to know how to reach them to be able to facilitate this workshop. and that would include their email and phone number. So these are 5 required fields. We also need to know their address. And the reason that we need to know their address, at least city, state, and zip, is that we have joint venture partners and other distribution partners that have exclusivity on certain geographic areas. And so we need to know, is this host in a kind of a prohibited area, because we're going to have to handle that differently. We also need to know which requested module, which topic, and that's coming from up here. We have different presenters, and not everyone wants to present on all topics. Like we have some presenters who just love focusing on youth, and others don't want to teach the youth curriculum. Again, most often what you'll be setting up as a financial literacy coordinator is the 27 mistake presentation. So this is going to be the most common that we start with. But nonetheless, we need to understand from the prospective host which module, which topic or topics, singular or plural, they're interested in. Then we need to know the format that that's their preference. Are they looking at us hosting an in-person workshop, or would they rather do an online workshop, or maybe they're not sure yet, and that's okay. But they need to choose one of those 3. And then payment type. We're not charging the host anything, of course. This just goes back to the point I mentioned a moment ago. We need to know what their approach is. Are they wanting to use this as a fundraiser? So for people to register, they'll need to pay. And of course, that revenue is shared with the host. Or do they not want to charge? And it's up to them, but we need to know kind of their mindset. Because again, we have different presenters that present different topics. Some of them won't go out and teach for free. Some of them will. And so if it's a fundraiser, we split the revenue 50-50 with the organization and the host and with the speaker. If it's free, of course, then there's no money to split. But that's why that question is relevant. Next, we need to know the requested date and time for the financial literacy workshop. So we want them to have thought enough about it that they can say, yeah, I'm thinking about Saturday, May 8th. I think I'm pulling that date out on the fly, but whatever day and specific time that they're considering, we need to know, because we need to start scheduling a speaker to either do it, whether it be a presenter, whether it be online or in person. And so we need this data to know, do we have available coverage for that or not? We want to know what their anticipated audience size is, and don't misread that. There's not like some minimum size, but we have different presenters, and some presenters only want to do small groups, some like to do large groups. Plus, we need to know from a resource perspective. And then we are going to ask a very direct question of the host, which is, how are you, the host, how are you going to get the audience for the workshop? Because that's the function of the host, especially when we're doing a revenue share as a fundraiser with them. A host does 2 things, right? They should provide the venue, the room, if it's in person, and they definitely need to bring the sphere of influence. From time to time, we've had people say, oh, I want to be a host for a workshop. And then they ask us, how are we going to get people to attend? Well, then you're not a host. Maybe they're better suited to be a coordinator themselves or an affiliate or what have you. So we'd like to get a little information from them. Obviously, the best hosts are those organizations, entities, or individuals that have conducted educational workshops before. Take churches or places of worship. A lot of them have offered Financial Peace University, the Dave Ramsey curriculum. So they've got it down. You know, they know how to promote an event. So is that a requirement that they've had experience promoting events in the past? No, but we need to know what their plan is, because is it newsletters? Is it email blast? What is it they're going to do to get the word out? Because obviously, we're going to work with them to provide content that they need based upon what you'd even call their marketing or their outreach campaign. And then, of course, referred by would be you. So, and then here at the bottom, we are looking for additional financial literacy coordinators, and people can click there if they're interested. So let's summarize. Real simple. We are a 501c3 nonprofit. We are passionate about increasing financial literacy, passionate about it. Now we're at a time in our society, in our nation, that we can start to do more in-person education, which is our preference, but certainly we can provide this curriculum in person or online. We rolled out a new role, which is called the Financial Literacy Coordinator. There's a YouTube video right here on it. Financial Literacy Coordinator. Doesn't cost anything, you don't have to buy anything. And so our financial literacy coordinators are responsible for going out and developing host relationships. They don't teach the workshop. They just simply facilitate or coordinate it, which is very valuable, and they're paid generously to do so. So it's not a volunteer position. So the purpose of today's brief training was to clarify, okay, if you want to be a financial literacy coordinator, great. Let's go out and improve the financial literacy of your community or whichever community you're targeting. And what do you do now? You're going to fill out this financial literacy workshop request by inputting information about the prospective host. On tomorrow's training, we're going to go through the new press release, which is very effective in sharing with prospective hosts to get them to this point. So that'll be tomorrow's training. What questions do any of you have today on our abbreviated training of what to do once you have a prospective host? Because what you're going to do is you're going to go to the website, go to the financial literacy page, which we're seeing here, and then you're going to help them fill this out. Now, could you put it in for them? Sure. It really doesn't matter to us if they're the one typing or you're the one typing, but this is the data set that we need. And then we're going to reach out to them, and then we will plan and implement it. So your role as a financial literacy coordinator is to get this form filled out, and that's all you need to do on the front end. We will work with them on planning the specifics, on promoting it, registering it, keeps it real simple for you. And in terms of how you get paid, just so you know how you get paid, it is described, well, it's the affiliate comp model, by the way, but on the career page, the financial literacy coordinator describes how you can earn $10,000 or more by coordinating each workshop. So go back to this if you didn't watch this to learn how you get paid. Some of you are asking, well, if it's a fundraiser, how is that money split? And again, it's split very simply, 50-50, whomever is presenting, and 50% to the host. That is if it's a fundraiser. If it's being done like at a library, like we've talked about, then there is no registration fee. There's no upfront cost for the attendees to attend. Therefore, there is no revenue split on the front end, but everything on the back end still applies. You'd still make your $10,000. Okay, who has any questions about this? Who has any questions about whether it be the relevance of improving financial literacy, the breadth of topics? These are award-winning topics. We have participant guides and instructor guides and PowerPoints. They can be conducted in person or online. Certainly, we're placing a much greater emphasis going forward this year of doing in-person education whenever possible, because we tend to have the best results, the best involvement, and the most conversions. Okay, Latasha is asking about how far out to schedule a workshop. Well, frankly, you won't schedule any workshops. You're going to help the prospective host fill this out. They're going to put in their requested date and time, and then we're going to work with them to get that booked, get a presenter set to go out and make it happen. So you're technically not responsible for scheduling it. All you're responsible for, Latasha, and you get paid, is just getting this form filled out. And then we'll take it from there. And so you're right, Latasha, in some cases, they're interested in doing a workshop right away. Well, again, there's all these variables that we need to figure out before we actually lock in on a date and time, because we have to assign a presenter. Someone's going to teach that curriculum. Our coordinators don't teach it. Our joint venture partners do, and our Better Credit Store owners do. Our coordinators and affiliates do not teach it. So once we get the data set, we will reach out to them and we'll lock everything in. It's not a burden to you. Are there any other questions anyone has on how simple this is? And again, if you've not watched that training from yesterday, or even if you did, you may want to go back and review it, because this is what's in it for you. This is how you get paid. This is that value proposition. Today, we're just simply talking about the mechanics of, okay, I've got a church, I've got a chamber, I've got an apartment complex, I've got a library, I've got a key influencer. David's doing real estate agents and organizations. What do I do then? So once you have a host that's interested in having us teach to their sphere of influence, in person or online, one of these curriculum topics, then you just simply go to our website and either fill this out for them or help them fill it out. Yes, Carlos, it's straightforward and simple. We've simplified it. So being a joint venture partner, not simple. Running a physical store, what we call Better Credit Store, it's not simple. But to be an affiliate, or in this case, to be a financial literacy coordinator, which is a function of an affiliate, it is simple. And so you still get paid the same way that you normally would as an affiliate. You're not making more, you're not making less, but you're going to be working with groups of people, which I guess will make you earn more, because obviously if we're working with groups of people, there's going to be a lot more people getting engaged in the Access to Capital program. And we don't hide the fact, it's even mentioned here. Our goal after attendees attend any of these small business topics, what we're going to do is visit with them for about 2 minutes and see if they qualify for the no upfront cost 501c3 grant funded program that guarantees them at least $100,000 to start or grow a business. That is going to be the takeaway in every case, whether we've done it in a library, in a church, apartment complex, chamber, it doesn't matter of the host. And we'll be very clear with the host. That's our goal. We're going to educate them, but we want to help them implement. We want to help them get the funding they need to start or grow a business so they can create jobs, build the tax base, and all the wonderful rewards of being an entrepreneur. So with that being said, let's take any other questions and we'll wrap it up. Latasha has a follow-up. She meant how far out for the presenters to be able to get there? Well, it depends. Don't worry about that because you're not scheduling. We need to find out what's going on with the host. Are we doing it in person or online? Are they doing it as a fundraiser or not? We find out where they're at geographically, and then we're going to assign a presenter, and then we'll finalize the schedule. So notice this says requested date. This isn't they just pick any day of any week of any month and say, well, great, I know it's going to be right then. But we do want to find out when do they prefer to have it, and we're going to do everything we can to meet their preference. But ultimately, there's 3 parties that are primary to having a financial literacy workshop. There's the host, who's providing the space and the sphere of influence. There's a presenter that's going to be teaching it, and the audience who's going to be listening and getting engaged. So don't worry about the specifics of scheduling. So Latasha, you could fill this out and say that they request it tomorrow. Well, if it's in person tomorrow, more challenging. Online tomorrow, we might be able to pull it off. But typically, that quick of a turnaround would be suspicious, wouldn't it? Because that doesn't give them much time to promote. But I'll tell you, we've ran into cases, and it's marvelous when it happens. In some cases, they already have a meeting. Their meeting's already scheduled. They're just looking for a topic for a presenter. And so they may say, no, I need you at 1 p.m. this Saturday. Our speaker canceled on us or came down with COVID, or we have an immediate opening. I went to the annual meeting of the National Black Women in Construction, NABWIC. And so, there wasn't a lot of flexibility of picking a day and well, there's a little bit in time, but not any flexibility in picking the date or location. It was in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and they flew me out there and I presented 1 o'clock or whatever it was right after lunch. So in some cases, the point is they're plugging us in to an event that already exists and we're occupying a speaker slot, which is great. In other cases, there's a whole new event being created. But just don't get too burdened with that. Just simply spread the word, fill this out. As long as you're the referral source, then you're going to get credit for that workshop. And just as we've talked about a time or two, and you should go back and review it if you're not familiar with it, this describes right here specifically how you earn income and realistically why you should be earning 10,000 or more for every workshop you coordinate. Okay, so let's wrap it up here. So IIMFL, we're a 501c3 nonprofit. We have 3 primary areas of focus, don't we? Financial literacy, improving credit, increasing access to capital. Right now, we're talking about financial literacy. It has its own page on the website. You go over here, list of all the topics, award-winning topics. If you're not one of the presenters, don't worry about the details. Our primary topic that we present is the 27 mistakes. So you're not familiar with it, come over here, click on it. This is a hyperlink. You click on this and you'll be able to view it. And so then if you want to help people improve their financial literacy and earn an adult income, then you go out and you connect with prospective hosts and you either fill this out for them or you help them fill it out. Now, what we don't want you to do is not talk to them and just blindly drop in some information and make up information. That's a no-go, right? That's not what this is intended to do. So we'll be back tomorrow morning. We're going to go through the brand new, freshly released press release, which is our best practice of how to introduce the proposition to the host and get them to this point. But I wanted to show you a number of you already have hosts kind of in the waiting, in the queue. So now you know how to submit them. Right here, hit submit, and then we're off and going. Thank you so much. We'll see you back tomorrow morning. Have a good day. Bye-bye.